Hi, this is Amanda from My Author's Book. I'm going to be talking about my most popular blog article, and it's about the 4 tips for a reluctant business owner to do their own bookkeeping. Now, I know how much you view, as a small business person, bookkeeping as a huge pain, but it can really be a lot more easier and fun than you think. Now, what I'm going to share with you are the 4 points that I mentioned and talked about in my blog article. So the first thing I want you to talk about is find out how. How do you do your books? Do you have any idea? So if you don't know how to actually do it, then the best thing you can do is to either get a bookkeeper, or sometimes an accounting firm might do some training to show you how you actually can go about doing your own books. Now, there's a lot of choice out there. There are free options like Zoho and Wave to a certain extent. Zoho does click over and cost you money. They have CRM systems and everything inclusive, but by far the leaders in Australia are Xero, MyOb, and QuickBooks. So these are great options, but they do cost per month. Now, I would recommend that if you get any accounting program set up for you online, that you connect with your bank, because bank feeds are going to save you a lot of time, particularly when you do bank rules. If you don't know what that is, have a read of my article. The other thing you need to think about is what program is going to suit you. Now, there's a lot of Xero-centric bookkeepers out there who are like blue all over. They love Xero, and that is like a Bible to them. But I am going to say, don't get fixated on any specific software, because each one of us are as unique as the next person. So where Xero might be a great program for your neighbor or for your friend, it may not be the right program for you. You might be more familiar with MyOb, so why not keep with MyOb, but go to MyOb Essentials if you're a small business owner. And if you're a larger firm, then look at MyOb Live, Account Live. There's a lot of different options, but I would stay away from desktop, because traditionally desktop programs, even though they are one-off cost, they're labor intensive. And this is where I find a lot of small business owners get behind in their bookkeeping, because it's just too difficult for them to keep up with and labor intensive. So the next point is, I would recommend, is that you look at doing applications. When it comes to using any of these programs like Xero or MyOb or QuickBooks, you can actually have like receipt management add-ons. And where these are fantastic is you can actually set in the rules when you take a photo. It just automatically says, okay, this is BHP, this is motor vehicle expense, or this is fuel expenses. And if you take a photo and you're in the real estate, it automatically knows that that particular one belongs towards this area, whether it be repairs and maintenance, whether it be your rates. And the great thing is you can track things. So if you are a property investor and you want to see how your portfolio is performing, or how a specific property is actually, whether it's negatively geared or whether it's actually a positive income, so that you can then forward plan to actually buy another property, this is where it becomes great with these tools. You can track individual properties, and then you can do a profit and loss on each individual one as well. So these are great options for you to be able to use with online accounting. The other thing I'm going to suggest too is that if you find it really hard to be disciplined to sit there and do loads of data entry, you can wave goodbye to data entry forever, using things such as Receipt Bank and HabDoc and Entryless. These are all add-ons that work with MyOb and QuickBooks and Xero that you can utilize to save yourself having to do data entry. For many small business people, it could actually mean that you don't need to use a bookkeeper anymore. Shock, horror. Can't believe I just said that, but that's the truth. So the next thing I'm going to say is be more organized. So when you start having these apps on your phone that you have, and you can actually, I can't even grab my phone. Here it is over here, hopeless. You can, well, once you log in, that's the important thing, is you have these great apps, and and you can be a lot more organized. So apps like this one with Receipt Bank, you can see here, it's got a picture of me. If I take my hand away, you can see there's a green button, and that's what you're actually going to go, is you use your app, you take your photo, you don't have to worry about losing your receipts again. HubDoc works very simple, similar, so there's entryless. There's a lot of different options, but it really comes down to what you need it for. Do you have a lot of paper invoices? Do you want to be able to have your e-statements all in one place? Are you just interested in your receipts? Now I'm going to start confusing you because there's so many options, and that's why it's imperative that you actually talk to a bookkeeper and then they work out a system that works for you. Now there are other options you can use that don't cost you money, such as Dropbox. Dropbox has a great phone app where you can actually scan or take photos of all your receipts and save them in a file called receipts. And what I would advise is you set up a file called receipts, and you put in the months, which might be January, February, March, and then you put all your receipts for that month into that particular folder. Again, you're going to make the ATO happy because those receipts will never fade, and it's also going to be really good for you because if you have, like, buy a computer or buy other items from Harvey Norman's or Officeworks, we all know how those receipts fade over time. So if you have to go in for warranty, it's an easy process if you're going and knowing roughly about what month it is in, and then clicking on that and being able to send it to them by email or show them on your phone, so that it's easy for you to get your warranty claim done. Now, when I say more organized, it also means your office. So you need to be more organized with your filing. I know with myself, it gets very difficult if I've got piles and piles of paperwork on my desk to psychologically get in and actually do my bookkeeping. I know that I won't do the filing as that pile grows larger because it just gets easier for me to procrastinate and so I can do it another time. The only problem is very few of us find that time until it's imperative for us to find something. So don't let that happen. Be consistent. Find a process that works for you so that you don't get backlogged. And the next one is, if you find that your business is growing, or if you discover that you're just not disciplined, if you are too busy with all your obligations and you're not doing your bookkeeping at all, that's where it pays to look at bringing on a bookkeeper. Now, you can get fixed term monthly rates when you do ongoing work, particularly when you use like Xero or QuickBooks or MyOb. It's not hard for you to be able to ask them at a reasonable rate to set a monthly fixed rate term. Now, there are still bookkeepers that do things by the hour. It just comes down to what it is that you need from that bookkeeper and what your budget will allow for you to be able to have. Now, I strongly would recommend that you don't look at outsourcing your bookkeeping unless it's through word of mouth. The issue here with outsourcing overseas to cheaper options like Fiverr and also the Philippines is if you don't have any experience whatsoever about bookkeeping, then you're not going to be able to police these outsourced individuals and ensure that they're actually qualified to know where to put everything. The last thing you want to do is get all your books done, take it to your accountant and discover that it's a real pigsty, that there's nothing there that balances, and you virtually, for a very cheap price, you still flush that money down the toilet because you didn't know what it is that needed to be done. So first of all, really make sure that it's a registered BAS agent. Do not go for the cheapest. Do not go to somebody that says they're a bookkeeper and they don't need to be a BAS agent. In Australia, if you do tax codes or do BAS or whatever it is in that field of tax, you do legally have to be registered as a BAS agent. There's no ifs or buts. Unless, of course, they let you know that they're working under an association like the Australian Bookkeepers Network, where they pay for them to look over their work to make sure it's accurate, because they're still trying to get their time so they can be a registered bookkeeper. So that's a different scenario again. The other option is you can, with some accountancy firms, get some very competitive rates. The one thing I will recommend here as a word of caution is a lot of accountants will outsource their work. So you might think that it's going to be done inside their Australian firm, but a lot of them, because they want to give you a competitive price, they actually outsource it to the Philippines. The advantage here is that they should be watching and policing to make sure that the quality control is there and that these individuals working for them as a team offshore are doing the right thing with the books and that they should be quite accurate. But that's not always guaranteed, particularly with the bigger firms. They do take the finger off the pulse and mistakes do happen. I'm actually definitely one of those where I had an accountant that I thought was doing a great job, and then as I became a better BAS agent myself, I discovered that there were definite chinks in the chain and things weren't being recorded correctly. So even with accountancy firms, as they grow and they get bigger, they take their finger off the pulse and mistakes can be made. And that's why it's really good that you look at a bookkeeping firm and a BAS agent. It'll save you money, save you time, save you stress. But definitely, if you can afford to do your bookkeeping yourself and be disciplined and systematic, then that's going to save you even more money. And it's also going to give you some great insights into your business that you otherwise probably would not notice. So I hope this article was very informative for you. I hope this has got you a couple of tips, and we'll just go over the 4 main points. Now, number 1 is find out how to do your bookkeeping. How do you keep good records? And also what your obligation is as far as the ATO is concerned, because you do have a legal obligation to keep really good records as a business owner. Number 2 is pick the right software that's for you. Now, I'm also going to put down in here that I didn't mention before, is have 2 separate bank accounts. The biggest thing when we were audited in 2015 that the auditor looked at is, were we mixing personal and business? Now, once he could see that there was a definitive difference, that there was no personal expenses in our bank account, his whole demeanor actually came down several notches. And so he was more relaxed towards us and not as aggressive. Now, this is something that you really need. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that you do not combine your personal with your business. Even if you're a sole trader, make sure you separate your 2 bank accounts, one for your personal and one for your business. And even if you live off all the money from your business, just take a lump sum out of your business account and pop it into your personal account and then go for your life and spend it in that account. But just don't do that in your business account. And if you're a proprietary limited, definitely do not use it like for your shopping and your general personal stuff, because you're actually doing the wrong thing by doing that from a legal point of view, and you will get into trouble if you get audited. The 3rd point is be more organized. So whether it be a paper system, whether it be a filing system, whether it be using Dropbox, or whether it be using apps, have a process in place and be more organized and more disciplined. So that way you don't miss any of your legitimate deductions, and also you have accurate records. And the last point is hire professional help. If you do not know accounting, do not try to set up your own accounting program yourself. Ensure that you outsource to a qualified BAS agent to have your setup of your online cloud accounting. And then after that's all set up, then if you want to do your own bookkeeping, go ahead. But ensure that you get a professional assistance and help. And when things get too overwhelming, make sure you actually organize to have a bookkeeper do your bookkeeping for you, so you can focus what you're good at, and that is actually working in your business and creating income. So I hope again that this was informative. If you'd like to know more about My Office Books, feel free to follow us online. If you Google My Office Books, you'll find us everywhere. We have a website, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Pinterest. I love social media. If you want to message me on Facebook, feel welcome to do so. But in all accounts, you can contact me at the end of the day by phone on 0423 463 721. So keep in touch. I'd love to hear about your stories. see what you are enjoying about bookkeeping, find out about your pain points. You might even inspire me to do an ebook, and I'd love to be able to attribute to you that you gave me the inspiration to do a new resource that I can share with you and also my readers. So take care and have an awesome year. And I know that 2018 and onwards, it's going to be a fantastic year for us all. It just comes down to being organised and making sure you have systems in place. Okay, my name is Amanda Hoffman. I'm from My Office Books. Thanks for listening. Bye.